This episode is brought to you by Anivia Pickleball, your premier destination for high-quality pickleball paddles designed to elevate your game. At Anivia, they are committed to providing players across Canada with innovative, performance-driven pickleball paddles crafted for durability, precision, and ease of play. Irene and myself are currently using their Gen 3 Pro paddle, and if you head over to Anivia.com and enter the code AGorman15, you get 15% off your order. That's AGorman15 at Anivia.com. All right, on with the show. Wide. Lions have done it. 1 point away from a repeat for the Lions. Here we go. There it is.
And they had it. They had it. What a match. What a season. That is amazing. What?
London is painted red, white, and gold. The team from La Belle Provence is the back-to-back champions. And still champions. Congrats to the Montreal Lions. Welcome, everyone, to the Pickleball Diaries podcast. I am your host, Andrew Gorman, joined, as always, by certified pickleball referee Victor Chan. What a weekend that was, Vic?
Yeah, big time. You saw my outfit right there. Like, people that's watching my outfit, I was already... I have the exact same outfit right before the final. So I obviously I'm very biased. I am a Montreal Lions fan, obviously. So I already have red ready, everything ready for them. And you know what? It worked. It worked out. They won.
Yeah, so Vic Force backs me into corner, and I have to be the one neutral party on the podcast and on the broadcast when we do the broadcast. So,
exactly.
All right, so Vic, we'll jump right into it. So we did get to do a lot of broadcasting for this weekend. So thanks to Mike, Yui, Jason, and everyone behind the scenes for inviting us on to do the broadcast. Shout out to Reese George and Sarah McGinnis for as the other the duo on the broadcast who were filling in on site. Had a lot of fun doing it. So for broadcast side of things, on the video side of things, everything was really good. Day one, we had that power outage, but that was at the facility. So
yeah, there's
not
not
a
much
lot
they can't do about that.
Yeah, no one can really do anything. So of course, because they're sending it to Game Plus, because they're sending it to YouTube, and everything has to restart because it's high operating equipment. It took a second after the power outage to get everything back up and running. So we did miss the last couple of points of the first mixed match of the Owls and who was it? Geez, Owls and Brewers.
Yeah,
was Brewers who? I forget now.
No, is it Brewers?
Who the Owls play first? Sorry, Owls and Toronto United.
Yeah, exactly.
My brain is still mushed. Yeah, so we missed the very end of the first match, and then we missed the first 5 or 7 points of the next match before we were able to come back on and commentate. We were able to see the stream almost straight away, at least one of the cameras, but they had to make sure the Game Plus feed went back up. They had to make sure all the other cameras were working before they worried about us. So if you were watching on YouTube when that happened, that's what the problem was with that. If you were watching on Game Plus, you probably missed a little bit because it took them a bit to get it back up. But if you missed that game and you want to go back and watch it, it was all saved, so it will be up on YouTube on the repost.
Nice.
Aside from that, me and Vic weren't able to do player interviews after the games just because we were doing remote. There was a little hiccup they had where we couldn't get our voices to go into the headsets of the players. But aside from that, everything else ran really smoothly. Reese and Sarah were able to do it because they were on site, so their headsets, the ones they were using, were on the same headsets as the players, so they were able to do the interviews with that. But yeah, other than that, really, really, really well done. Camera angles, for the most part, really good. The replay crew was awesome, catching a lot of really good highlight shots and a lot of controversial line calls.
Yeah, exactly. The replay has been pretty good. They've been catching very nicely. So really big shout out to those replay folks.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And then for the facility itself, the Smash facility is a really nice facility. The court is a little bit narrow. I would have liked to
Yeah,
see a little wider of a
definitely.
court, especially for championship weekend. We ran into the same problem at EPC last year at championship weekend, where
Hmm.
EPC is really narrow. So I'm hoping for next year. Like as much as I love the Smash facility, like it's a beautiful facility when you look at it.
Hmm.
I would like championship court to have nice wide for the ability for those ATPs, and the players still made a ton of ATPs, but you could see they were super narrow shots. And then
Yeah,
of course once games got in tight, players were doing really hard cut shots, and you could see players almost running into the fence, running into the wall,
yeah. Well,
because there
especially
just
the
wasn't that ability
smash.
to there wasn't that ability to stretch out.
Yeah, I would say especially the smash. Like every team was exploiting in that sharp angles smash that makes you there's no way you're gonna be able to retrieve it because that's gonna hit the fence as the ball was landing. So those like obviously it's playoff, right? You're gonna exploit whatever advantage you got. So in a more I will say championship size court, I would say those players would have been able to retrieve those ball, and that would give a little bit more interesting rally rather than right here. You can see some player was a little bit frustrated, like can't get it. Like I could have get it, but it's like I have the fence a fence already in front of me. I couldn't do anything.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, other than that, everything ran nice and smooth. You could hear the refs calls the whole time. They
Hmm.
had someone at the facility entering the score the entire time, so the score was kept up to date really, really well. Like me and
Yeah.
Vic didn't have to worry about. Like I know when we did the first time at the Smash facility at
Oh,
the
that
first
that was
split,
rough.
Vic was doing it remotely, and then there was a spot where it froze and didn't have access anymore, so we couldn't adjust the score. So I really liked that there was someone on court who was actually or on site who was actually that was their job, was to do the running tally for the score.
Hmm.
So that was really done really well. Yeah, but yeah, big shout, like I said, big shout out to the people behind the scenes that no one else sees. Like me and Vic got to see because we had like the FaceTime cam with them, like they were counting us in, counting us out when we had to go to
Yeah.
commercials and stuff like that. So really, really happy with how that went, and the fact that they let us do the championship game, which was
Oh, that was it
awesome. That
was
was
it
so
was
much fun.
awesome. Yeah, big thanks for JYT Media. Am I right?
Yes, yeah,
JYT
Jason's group there.
Jason's group there. Thanks for Huey, Mike, from CNPL coordinating us doing the finals. If I didn't have the baby, I think I would have come, but I think baby takes priority.
Yeah, exactly. Hopefully they do it on the West Coast next year, and it makes it easier for us to get to. Right.
Hmm.
We might have to save up. We might, if we have money left over from our MILP stuff, that might be put in a fund for an airplane ride to
Exactly.
CNPL finals, right? We gotta make sure we break even first, though. But yeah, so let's get right into it, Vic. We'll start off with the round of 8 on the A side of the bracket. So for those of you who didn't get to tune in, it was the typical pickleball double elimination bracket. So you start with the round of 8. If you lose, you drop down to the B side. If you lose the
Mhm.
second time, then you're out, type of thing. And then you advance. If you go undefeated all the way to the finals, you are twice to beat. So the typical pickleball setup for most double elimination brackets, just with team play for the matchups. So
Mhm.
we started off right away, and me and Vic got to commentate this one, the Lions versus the Drive. So this was the 1v8.
Yeah.
And the Lions handled this pretty well. I'm going to give kudos to the Drive for this weekend, though, because um, this was the second time they had Mike Rizzo in because Wes wasn't there. And Mike and Evan had really, really good chemistry.
Mhm.
And like they gave some really good
Well,
fights.
they almost gave Lions some sort of scare. Like if you look at the score line, like the first one, Ernesto and Sophie, yeah, they won, but it was barely 21-20 against Mike and Audrey. So I would say that was yes, it's a win for Lions, but I'll consider as a win for Drive actually. And then the second one that the Drive actually took it. Evans and Alexis actually won against LC and Stevie 21-20. So that puts them even. So that puts a lot of pressure towards Alliance saying, hey, that you're not gonna blow us out to the water that easily.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and then once we got to the women's and the men's, like it was a little bit more convincing win with a 21-16, 21-15 win respectively,
Hmm.
but The rallies were really, really good. I actually was also really, really impressed with Audrey on the drive as well. I found that her and Mike as a team blended really, really well. And then it almost like it gave her more confidence on the women's side because she was being way more aggressive than what we had seen from her in the previous splits. Like she was stepping in and shake and baking stuff with the two-hand backhand. Getting players to cheat into the middle and then going down the line. Like she did a really, really good job. But yeah, Lions, like they were the favorites going into this. Like if you looked at the Duper predictions, it was like almost an 80% in favor of the Lions. And with the way the Lions have been playing all year, you were expecting them to win this, but the drive did make it look good.
Yeah, exactly. They are so close. So I will say that big kudos to them. And they actually follow. Well, we'll talk about later. We'll follow up with some good wins after that.
Yeah. And then the next, we're gonna go down. We're not gonna do it in the order it was broadcasted, but we're just gonna go like for the next one here. So the 2v7. So all of a sudden after that Lions game where you got the expected winner, all of a sudden this weekend turned into the weekend of upsets. So you had the number 2 Pronghorns versus the number 7 Brewers, and the Brewers swept it 3-0.
Ouch.
I don't know what was going on with the Pronghorns, but like they lost the women's one 21-16, the men's one 2019, so that was at least sort of close. And then the first mixed match, it was Brad and Kim versus Kyle and Ava, and Kyle and Ava beat them 21-17, and they were out to a pretty hefty lead in that game too. Like I think there was one point they were up by like 8 points. And I don't know what was going on with the Pronghorns, but they could not get a rhythm going. They looked very, very passive in some of their shots and some of their shot attempts. Like normally, like, and especially because they had been on a roll the last 2 splits. You were expecting them to come in and fire on all cylinders, but this is not a shot against the Brewers, but the Brewers, because the Brewers came in and they executed their game plans very, very, very well. And played very, very well. So shout out to them. But for them to sweep the Pronghorns, like I could have seen it go into like a dream breaker, because then anybody wins in a dream breaker. But the fact that the Pronghorns didn't even get a match or a game win in this match was very, very surprising.
Yeah, that was quite disappointing, unfortunately. And we'll talk again on their second matchup. But that was a big surprise because the Brewers did not have a very good record till now, and they also have quite a bit of a change of personnel in their team. So there is some figuring out still at this point, and they still executed pretty nicely. And the Pronghorns just like, and really don't know what was going on. Something was not clicking. Some they are not in sync at all when they were playing. So that really cost them the match.
Yeah, exactly. And with rally scoring, you can be off for 1 or 2 points, but you can't be off for like an entire game.
It was extended timing when they were
Yeah,
off.
exactly. Then we move on to we had the number 3 seed versus the number 6 seed, and this one we knew was going to be good because the Lights, even though they were the number 6 seed coming in, had just come off of that insanely good record at the Metro split, and it seemed like everything was finally clicking for them because they had been the team that had gone to the most dream breakers leading up to this and just never really won a bunch of them. But this one went to a dream breaker, but the matches were all close. For the Lights, Danny
except
and Marie Christine, huh?
All close except one.
Except for the one match, which honestly, if there was going to be one blowout, I was expecting that one to be the blowout, just because of and we'll get into why we expected that and how it leads into another match later. But yeah, so like the first matchup in the women's, so you had for the Lights, you had Danny and Marie Christine versus Jess and Serena. This was another surprise for me that the smash started Serena, because Stella had been playing so well with Jess the last couple of splits. I thought Stella had earned the starting spot over Serena, but Stella didn't end up playing this entire weekend.
Yeah, that was
so I don't know if they thought, maybe Stella was sick or if Serena had proved something in practice and they thought this chemistry worked a little bit better. I'm not sure, but and it's not like Serena played bad. It's just I thought the combination of Jess and Stella and then Stella and Preston had been more cohesive than when Serena was in there. So I don't know. You'd have to ask the whoever's making the lines for the smash, but yeah. So Danny and Marie Christine beat Jess and Serena 21-18, and then you have Ryan and Preston take out Joel and Lucas 21-12. So a little lopsided there. Now the rallies in that game were really really good. It just seemed to be that the lights kept on being on the losing end of a bunch of them. And then of course you had Jess and Ryan, which was by far this entire season the best mixed team in the league. I think they only lost 2 mixed matches this entire season. Stomped Joelle and Marie Christine 21-9. And then Preston and Serena lost to Lucas and Danny. And a big shout out to Lucas and Danny. They really found their chemistry by the end of this season, and getting the win there. So that forced the Dream Breaker. And this was so back and forth. I don't think either team really had a big lead the entire time. And then the lights come out on top 21-20. Did you notice anything in that Dream Breaker, Vic, that really tipped it in the lights' favor? Or because honestly, when I was watching, it was just literally back and forth, point for point.
I watched a little bit of it. It was very close. There's not much there is no like big momentum swing. There was basically it just being very close to each other. You get 2 points, I get 2 points. It's like kind of thing, and that was kind of what we kind of expect is gonna happen, because those two teams are pretty, like I will say, equal in terms of level and how they are playing. So it's just a matter of sometimes just the execution, or sometimes maybe one lucky net court compared to another unlucky net court here and there, and that tips the favor. But at the same time, I would say it was kind of a missed opportunity for Smash, because especially you're already up 2-1 by rolling the lights on those two games, right? I would say maybe Preston and Serena kind of took their foot off the gas a little bit, saying, "Oh, we got this," and then that could have caused that dream breaker. But anyway, big kudos to the lights pull off that upset.
Yeah, exactly. So the lights moved on from that one. Then we get to what we were hoping to be was a really fun one. It was just depending on if you got Dr. Jekyll or Mr. Hyde with the with the Owls here. So we had the Toronto United number 4 seed versus the Owls, the number 5 seed. And they started off with the mixed matches, and Max and Jada came out flying.
Oh, yeah, they came
in this
off,
match.
Came on big.
Especially
Jada. Especially on that match, it was just Max was doing his thing, but Jada was banging. Like she was dominating the match basically.
Yeah, and they were up against Anna and Kaylin, and I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was a late, like it was almost like they forgot to start on time, but yeah, Anna and Kaylin just got overwhelmed super quick, and it became such a hole that there was no way they were going to come back. And of course, the power outage happened during this match, so we didn't see the final couple points. But when the power went out, it was already like 18-9.
Yeah,
at the time. So it finishes off with a 21-10 win for Max and Jada, jumping right away. Then you have a really good matchup with Matt and Jordy versus Armand and Christina. And this one was basically an unstoppable force versus an immovable object, with the defense of Matt and Jordy versus the offensive powerhouse that is Armand and Christina. Exactly. And Armand and Christina pulled it out, but man, was that game close. I think a couple of times Toronto United had the serve on the game on their serve, and Armand and Christina managed to battle their way back and get the 21-20 win. But you could see a couple of times there Armand almost was trying to be a little bit too fancy with a few shots, and it cost them a couple of points.
Yeah, definitely. But to also expect, as a paddle nerd, he actually changed paddle. He was not using the Selker SLK era. He was using this Selker boomstick, which is a much popular powerful paddle compared to the SLK era, which is still a good power paddle, but it's more leaning towards that all court category. So compared like coming from an all court all the way to like full power pop, sometimes it takes a little adjustment. But I would say in a mix, the matchup usually is favorable that you use a power pop paddle because that shot can actually makes you able to dominate against the other female, right? So that's because you're always targeting the other female. At the same time, also, Toronto United have a quite interesting choice putting Matt Kawamoto on the right instead on the left. So that was kind of a little interesting. And it was just that only matchup I saw Matt Kawamoto in the mix on the right instead on the left. So I will say that might also makes kind of a problem why they lost that match maybe.
Yeah, because it looked like at first, because Toronto United did jump out to a bit of a lead at first. It looked like it was working at first. I wonder if they were trying to do it to have Matt like cut down the angles on the drive. Because a lot of times when that drive is coming from the left, if you're the player on the right, you have the ability to kind of come over and cut off that angle a little bit more. And Matt Kawamoto's so good at that. But then again, Jordy's defense is so good. I didn't really see why it would have been an issue to have Jordy being the one having to handle some of those
Yeah,
shots.
that's why it's like kind of an interesting choice. But and is it like solely because of this reason they lost the match? Definitely not. But that's definitely a contributing factor.
Yeah. Then we jump over to the women's, and Jordy and Jada pull off a 21-19 win against Anna and Christina. That was just a really good back and forth match. But I did find Anna and Christina making quite a few unforced errors in that one. Then you jump to the men's, and then same thing. Armand and Kaylin, they actually got up to a decent lead really quickly on Matt and Max, but then like same thing, like I said, Armand was getting a little bit fancy there. And Toronto United was able to claw their way really quickly back into this one because there's probably a couple of shots that if Armand finishes it, it's a highlight reel finish for the 21 point, but you didn't have to have that much flair. Or you could have waited like one more shot, like use the shot you were about to do as like be patient with it and do it as a setup shot, then get the finish. But he was trying to it was like they were trying to finish it in two shots instead of doing what had been working the entire match. You know what I mean?
Definitely. And also, the reason why Toronto United was up in that match beforehand is because Kaylin are around non-stops trying to speed up. Well, they're like power team. They try to finish the point quickly. And Matt and Max was not allowing them to do that. They're winning hand battles nonstop against them. So that kind of tipped the point. It was like, oh, our initial strategy is not working, right? So they kind of, oh, this is not working. We need to find someone else. And as soon as Kaden and Armand like slow the pace down, a little bit more patient on their attack, a little bit more stabilized, and now Armand start cooking with his backhand flick.
Yeah, exactly. So that forces the Dream Breaker. Toronto United, like even though this was a 21-19 finish, Toronto United looked in control the entire time.
Oh, they're
to be honest,
they're up all the time. I remember I
think they
wrote
were up
down
like 2015 at one point, and like and the Owls managed to battle back because of course you don't have to worry about losing points on your serve.
Exactly, but they're almost up. So like the first rotation, they were up 1, 2. They're up by 3 point in that rotation. Second rotation was even. Everyone kind of lost one and one. Either lost one or win two, or lost two or win one. The third rotation, it was in favor of the Owls because the only Jada went 3-0, and the others actually are 2-1. But at the end, it was just too late. They didn't have enough to cover the spread. And the most important part is Kaylin versus Jada. So Jada won 6, 8 point out of 10 on Kaylin.
Yeah.
This is a decider. That's a big win. And like Kaylin has to at least go 50-50, and this one just hurts them. 8 out of 10, that's not enough.
Yeah, and I think that, and then that combined with the losing 21-10 in the mix results in what the Owls decide to do in their next match after on the B side after this, leading into what they decide to do with their lineup changes. So that concluded the round of 8. We move on to the quarterfinals. So then we have Toronto United versus the Lions. This by far was the best match of the entire weekend. This
Yeah, that
quarterfinals match.
Oh yeah,
so
definitely.
You start off with mix and 2 insanely close matches on both sides. Lions, Elsie and Stevie taking out Jada and Max 21-20. Then you have Ernesto and Ann 21-20 again against Matt and Jordy. So Lions go up 2-0.
Yep.
But then Jordy and Jada take out Ann and Stevie 21-17. And this, like, I expected this match to be one of those 21-20 games, but Jordy and Jada were just firing on all cylinders. And I'm giving a shout out to Jordy here. The amount of speed ups Jordy did in this women's match was probably more than she had done the entire season.
Yeah, that forehand speed up was very deceptive. I think Anne-Sophie and Stevie was not expecting Georgie speeding up. They're just expecting I just need to worry about Jada attacking. But no, Jordy was much more offensive on that match and like basically caught the Lions by surprise.
Yeah, exactly. And then you get to the men's matchup, and same thing. Matt and Max were just locked in for this one. They win 21-19 against Ernesto and Elsie, but this match was kind of back and forth, and then Matt and Max kind of pull away in the last couple of points there. So and 2-2 go to the.
Yeah,
go ahead.
I was just gonna add that match also at the same time kind of set a little bit the ground on the final match matchup because that Matt and Max both of them have played with Ernesto in different tournaments. So obviously Matt did play at the Canadian National, and Max actually play with Ernesto in I would believe it's an APP tournament together. So they kind of knew how Ernesto was, how the way he's attacking. So kind of like it feels like Ernesto has a very difficult time to finish the point against both of them because they just being able to anticipate, when Ernesto is trying to do this, he's gonna go there. When that ball's here, Ernesto's gonna take it, and we're gonna counter that right there. So it kind of makes it very difficult for Ernesto to finish any point.
Yeah, so very good scouting report by Toronto United on Ernesto for the men's matchup. So yeah, then we get to
that dream breaker,
the tie break, and honestly, I thought Toronto United had this in the bag. They jumped out to a massive lead. I think they were up. What was it, 2014?
Yeah, they're match point basically.
They're match point 2014. Lions get a side out, and then all of a sudden the Lions just go on this 7-point run seemingly out of nowhere. Because the way the singles were going, I was like, oh geez, Toronto United's going to win this like 21-11, or not 21-11, like 21-15. Like when the Lions got their side out and got that 15th
actually, wait
point.
a minute. Wait a minute.
Because they were, I think it was 2014 when they finally broke serve.
2014 or 2012, something like that.
But it was a massive gap.
I think is it 2012? So 12 plus 9 does it make 2012? Actually, 2012. Reason why I remember is actually 2012 is because Lions LC wins 3 points in a row. Stevie win 3 points in a row, and then Anne-Sophie win 3 points in a row and finish it. Basically, the ball never came back to Toronto United.
Yeah, right. And it was just like, and it came out of nowhere. Like, I don't know what they did after that point break, but they figured out where to hit the ball and get those shots. And there was a couple of long returns, I think, on Toronto United's side that gave 1 or 2 points, but it was just the Lions just locked in.
It's 2012. It's 2012. That was like there's like basically Toronto United is like, yeah, I got this in the bag. But it was exactly like, no, right? And then Lions like not happening.
Yeah, and then they bowed their way back, got the double freeze, got the 20-20, got the 21-20 points. So the Lions with that win.
Yeah, 9 points in a row. 9 points in a row. No side out to Toronto United. Toronto United never got the chance to serve. Never.
It was insane. Yeah. So that moves the Lions into the semifinals. Toronto drops down into the B side of the bracket. Now the other side, because there was upsets, you have the number 7 and number 6 seed playing each other with the Lights and the Brewers.
Yeah.
But the Lights playing the way they've been playing, walk in and they sweep it. Pretty convincingly in both the women's and the men's with a 21-16, 21-14 win. And then I was really surprised. So I don't know who the home team was because, of course, if you're the home team, you get to decide the mixed matchups.
Yeah.
If you're the away team, you have to input your mixed matchups first. But I was really surprised that they didn't put the Brewers didn't put Mark and Tara as their first mixed pairing. I think they thought they might have taken one of either the men's or the women's, but Mark Clemenson didn't get to come in for the mixed play because Joelle and Marie-Christine win 21-20 over Kyle and Ava. And now, see, that's still a really good battle from Kyle and Ava, but when your best player doesn't get to come in, I think that's a mess up on doing your line matchup.
Yeah.
Now, if you're not the one who made the line matchup, that's a mistake of not putting them as the first pairing.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
That
that's at least in my opinion with that. Cause like I said, the Lights had been clicking. So Danny and Marie-Christine winning 21-16, that's a pretty convincing win. Joelle and Lucas winning 21-14 in the men's was super convincing. Both guys were locked in, but yeah, that 21-20, yes, it was close, but you have to wonder if you had Mark and Tara in there, if it might have been if Mark might have been able to tip the scales, because Tara and Ava are pretty even with their abilities, but we still have to give the nod to Mark over Kyle right now for who is the better player on the team, right? So
definitely
that was the first kind of, aside from the putting Matt Kawamoto on the right for that one match, that was the first time so far this weekend where I kind of questioned what the coaching staff was doing with the line matching. But so the Lights win 3-0. They move on to the semis to face the Lions, and then the winner goes on to the finals as the twice to beat. But yeah, I thought the Brewers had played well in the previous match. This one, it was kind of more of a regression to how they'd been playing, where they were in games but not really winning, or they couldn't put in a full performance. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's just too bad. You definitely want to put your best player on as your first team, because you don't know if sometimes it's just an off day and then you're like, oh, I'm not winning my first two matches. Then you're like, ish, if you're trying to kind of juggle, saying, am I gonna win that mix by putting my second mix in?
Yeah, exactly.
That bites them back. Definitely.
Yeah. So then for the final game of the A side of the bracket, we have the Lions versus the Lights. And these two teams, for the women's and men's, kind of traded convincing wins. So the Lions, Stevie and Sophie take out Danny and Marie-Christine 21-15. But then Joelle and Lucas return the favor with a 21-15 win over Ernesto and Elsie.
Yeah, that's a surprise, definitely. Well,
that was I was expecting that to be like a 21-20 or a 21-19 type of game.
But at the same time, Lucas and Joelle has been playing pretty good pickleball, so it might be a little bit closer, but at the same time, I'm not surprised they're winning that one either.
Oh yeah, and the way they were rolling, you could see it, you could see the writing on the wall fairly quickly. I think by the time it was 17-10 or something like that, I was like, oh, okay, Ernesto and Elsie are in trouble, right? But then you get to the mix, and then the Lions kind of turn it back on. Elsie and Stevie with a convincing 21-14 win over Lucas and Danny. And then Joelle and Marie-Christine put up a really good fight trying to force that tiebreak, but Ernesto and Ann come away with the 21-19. So the Lions move on to the finals as the twice to beat. The Lights drop down to the B side of the bracket, but for the Lights, this and like we said, this is just dropping down to the B side, but you got to be happy with this, being almost in dead last, and then finally getting everything to click in the previous split, and then making it all the way to the semis before you get knocked down to the B side. That's showing you how well they've been playing and clicking together. Like we said, we said if they had clicked one split earlier, I wouldn't have been surprised if they would have fought their way all the way up to like the top three.
Definitely.
They just ran out of time with the amount of games that were left once they got to the Metro.
Big time.
So then we drop down to the B side of the bracket. So round 1, you got the Pronghorns versus the Drive. So this is 2v8. And once again,
ouch.
I don't know what happened with the Pronghorns, but they get swept 3 games to nothing. Mike and Audrey played outstanding against Brad and Kim, pulling off a 21-20 win. Like that game was tight, but honestly, if I'm thinking about who's playing, I expected Brad and Kim to win that like 21-17, 21-16. If I'm being honest.
Yeah, they should have like that match. They should have won. They
right?
Should have won, especially knowing Brad and Kim's ability. Oh man, that's a bad loss from them, I would say.
Yeah, and then the next one, Alexis and Evan, 21-14 over Michaela and Antoinetta.
That hurts.
There was a lot of out drives in that one by the Pronghorns, but like I expected that to be so much closer. Well, and then because
I have some game notes also that kind of shows the problematic too. Evans was playing 60-40 with Alexis versus Michael and Antonetta just playing 50-50 on their core coverage.
And they weren't taking advantage of the fact that Evan was playing 60-40. Like if someone's playing 60-40, you have to attack the crap out of their backhand.
No, that was not enough. And Alexa was the drive of Alexis was very good, and she was penetrating.
Her drive and her serve that game was on point. I think she had like 2 or 3 aces with her serve. So like Alexis was locked in that game. And then you move to the women's. Same thing. Audrey and Alexis versus Kim and Antoinetta. Previous matchups, you would think Kim and Antoinetta should get that like a 21-17, 21-18 type win. Audrey and Alexis like battled with them and then pulled away. Like I think they were up 20-16 or something, and like Kim and Antoinette battled back to make it a double freeze at 19. But at that point, like you burnt yourself out battling back, and then Audrey and Alexis executed perfectly. And like I said, Audrey played so well this weekend with
well, especially because
both Audrey and I think they both like they did back-to-back shake and bakes with each of them taking a turn doing it. In this game.
So they're so confident they're just shaking baking nonstop against them almost. And then I think the last few points was just shake and bake wins, and then that got kind of I'll say pulled the confidence of the Pronghorns ladies a little bit, because when they're shaking baking that many times means you're popping up nonstop.
Exactly right. So Drive take it 3-0. They move on to the B side. Pronghorn season is done. They don't win a single matchup in championship week, and the number 2 seed, and especially after playing so well the previous 2 splits, that's got to be disappointing for the players and the coaching staff.
That one hurts my soul quite a bit.
Yeah, it did hurt to watch that. Because honestly, I had them as one of the possible pings to face the Lions in the finals. Like I always had in my pre-prediction, I always had the Lions in the finals. Once we got to the final standings before the playoffs, but I had the Pronghorns as one of the ones. Is like, oh yeah, this team might make a push and be able to face the Lions in the finals, and it was just,
they did not show up.
It was just one of those things where they just ended up laying a dud the weekend. So unfortunate, but that's why you play the game with sports. You don't just go by the stat sheet. So Drive move on to the next round of the B side, and the Pronghorns are out. Next, you have the Smash versus the Owls, and honestly, like you felt bad for both teams because both teams were good, but the fact that they had to face each other on the B side of the finals, or on the B side of things. But then again, that's what happens when you don't win the match you're supposed to win.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So Owls take it in 3 straight, and this was the one where I super questioned the coaching staff of the Smash. So you start off with your women's and men's. So Anna and Christina take it 21-16, which, like I said before, Serena's a good player, but I thought the way Stella had been playing in the previous splits with Jessica was a better female pairing. just because I thought she complimented how Jessica played better. Because Jess had been a lot more what I would say offensive this year when she was playing women's, and Stella was such a good resetter. I thought Stella did a better job complementing that. But Anna and Christina take a win 21-16. The Owls sub in Eric Fraught for Kaylin because, and like we said, we assumed it was because of the mixed loss and because of how Jada basically dominated in the singles one. So like, okay, we're going to try Eric in. So I can understand making that change. That's a coaching decision. There might be some behind the scenes stuff that we're not privy to as well, but Eric and Armand come in and they take out Ryan and Preston 21-15. And honestly, they picked on Preston a lot. Right?
Yeah.
Preston's been one of those players this year where when he's on, he's rock solid. But when he's off, it causes problems, right? So, but like this was when we watched this match, this was the Owls where we were saying Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. This was the good version of the Owls, the way they played. They were locked in, they were making their shots, they were hyped, but they weren't getting too hyped that they were taking themselves out of the game.
Well, and then also at the same time, they that's what Owls always do. Like when Owls is in control, they're doing good. They're rolling you. But as you're saying, let's see the next matchup. What happened?
Yeah, right. But then you get down to the mixed match, and all of a sudden Jessica walks out. I'm like, oh, okay, it's Jess and Ryan. This is like a good chance they're going to win this. So they're going to more than likely force, the second mix and try and force the tiebreak. And then Preston walks out on the court with Jess, and I'm like, what is going on? You haven't done this mixed pairing the entire season, and Jess and Ryan have been literally the best mixed pairing the entire season. So I don't know if they were trying to galaxy brain this and overthink things, saying, oh, okay, well, Jess and Ryan are so strong and Preston and Serena have been having trouble, so we're going to split up Jess and Ryan and make two kind of equally good teams. This is not the time when it's a do or die game to start experimenting with the lineup. If you want to do that, you should have done it at the beginning of the season.
There you go.
The whole reason why you drafted Jess and Ryan back to back, re-signed them, was because of how good of a mixed pairing they are.
Yeah, you want to use them to guarantee yourself a win, right?
Yeah, guarantee. Like it's basically with Jess and Ryan as a team, you start the game up 1-0 already.
Exactly.
Because like I said, I think they lost 2 the entire season, and that's 2 seasons in a row now. They have been the best mixed pair in the CNPL, and this was the game you decided not to put them together.
Yeah, that's
like I appreciate the ballsiness of trying to change it up, but this is not. This is not, in my opinion, this was not the time to do it. Like I messaged Yui, and I said, this is either going to be one of the greatest decisions in the world, or they're going to look silly, and they look silly.
All right, big time.
And yes, it was still 21-20 for Armand and Chris, so it's not like Jess and Preston played bad, but I guarantee you, if it would have been Ryan and Jess, that unless it was like I said, 80% of over 80% of the time, I think they have a 95% win rate as a mixed pair.
There you go.
Right, so more than 9 times out of 10, they're winning their mixed match, and you would have taken out the stronger pairing of Armand and Christina, right?
I know.
So then that makes it easier for Preston and Serena to come in against Eric and Anna.
Now you put like a known entity trying to against the best pairing of the Owls. You're like, oh my god.
Yeah,
why?
Like with the season on the line, I didn't like this decision, to be honest, I know a lot of the Smash guys listen to this. Like I understand the train of thought, but I think they got too caught up in trying to be, like I said, galaxy braining the situation.
Yeah.
Right. Like there's sometimes you can look at analytics and make a decision that way to try and balance things out, but sometimes if you have such a strong cannon that is Ryan and Jess, just go with it. Mm-hmm. Right. So like I said, they still could have lost that, and they still could have lost 3-0 in the end, right? Because it was Armand and Christina, and they were playing pretty well.
Yeah.
But I would have gone with the more closer to a sure thing, in my opinion, in that
I
setup.
would too. I would
Right.
too, and
So,
especially like now you know knowing that well they don't know the fact they're losing they're down 2-0, but at the same time you're like well you shouldn't
but it
gamble
gives you
the
that
fact
safety blanket if that does happen.
exactly you shouldn't like gamble in a like dual die situation, right? That's what
Yeah.
you call that.
Yeah, and we can see how certain mixed matchups they decide games. We'll see that in another game we're going to talk about later. If when you get the decision to make the decide the mixed matchups, how much that can affect the game. So Owls win 3-0. Smash season is done. So that's the number 2 and the number 3 seed teams out in 2 games. Right. So, like we said, upset city. Then we
Yeah.
move. Then we move on to Brewers versus the Owls. Then, like we said, Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde.
That's another one.
The
You're right.
wrong
I was like,
owl showed up to this game.
oh my God. I was very frustrated when I was watching that match too.
Right. So, like the women's side, Ava and Tara win 21-19 over Anna and Christina. And like Ava and Tara executed and played very, very well. But all of a sudden, this was Anna and Christina once again, lots of unforced errors.
Oh, big time. I
Like
will say Anna make much more unforced errors in that particular game than in any other games. There's so many unforced errors. And then the another thing is Christina is so good on the right with his forehand ding roll. She barely had the opportunity to do that. So makes it like I will say the Brewers lady executed perfectly. Like
Yeah.
like Ava pulling Anna on to the left hand side was like executed to imperfection all the time. Like even though she got in couple of the ball, it was either a pop up or it was straight enough that the Tara could attack it.
Yeah, exactly. And
And
then
also shout out to Ava using a new paddle. Obviously paddle nerd like me. I was looking at all the people's paddle. The Rhombus Quanta. Not a lot of people is using this paddle. You have it behind me over here, the Rhombus Quanta. Not a very expensive paddle. People was like, oh, all the pros are using expensive paddle. No, Rhombus Quanta is only $99 US dollar, and you can with the code if you use Chan PB, it will give you to $99. Sorry, I'm making my commercial at the same time.
No, that's okay.
But it is a good paddle because they actually compare this paddle to the boomstick. It's a $99 boomstick. That's they call it. You need to add some weight in order to get that paddle to that performance. But at the same time, it is a very good underrated paddle. A lot of people do kind of underestimate. So shout out Ava making that switch.
Yeah. And then we move on to the men's, and this is where we notice the Brewers make a lineup change. They sit Mark Clemenson and bring in Luca. Now I know there's some behind the scenes reasons why Mark didn't, which we're not going to get into, just for players' sake, because it's more so not it. Whatever.
We don't need to. We don't need to.
Yeah, we don't need to get into it. But so Mark sits, so Kyle and Luca come in, and Kyle and Luca win 21-20 over Armand and Eric. And like this was once again one of those things where I think the Owls were up 2018, something like that.
Yeah,
and
they're come up or match point, something like that.
Yeah, but once again, trying to finish it within like 2 shots type of thing, or trying to finish it with some flash. And then
Luca and Kyle was not letting them.
They were just locked in. They were just making their shots, returning it over, countering what they needed to counter, and executing where they needed to execute. And the final one was a hand battle. I think between Armand and Luca. Luca gave it a good like backhand flick. Armand ducked, thinking it was going to go out, and it landed like a good foot in.
Yeah,
in the line, and that was the winning point. So all of a sudden, the Brewers are up 2-0. And then we go to the mix. So you have Armand and Christina versus Ava and Kyle, and there was 3 or 4 points in this match where Armand would get the pop up, think it was out, call it
And
out,
was
and then it
ball.
lands
Yeah,
like
the
2
ball's
feet,
like so
and
in.
it
You're like,
lands like a good foot inside
you're
the
like, oh
line.
my god, Aman, come on.
Yeah, and that wasn't obviously that wasn't the whole thing, but like same thing. Ava and Kyle just executed. They were just they were digging, they were turning, they were patient, they were making the shots where they needed to make them, and you could see like Armand and Christina. It was just like that wave of emotion. Like when they were up, they were up. When they were down, they went way down.
Mhm.
And this is the thing with this has been a thing with the Owls the whole year. Like when they're locked in, they're motivated and they're up, but they kind of find that sweet spot and then just lock in the whole way through.
Mhm.
This one, it was very like they'd go
Wavy.
above it, try to do too much, so then they'd lose a point, then they dip way, way down, get frustrated. So
Yeah,
like I said,
there's way
it's
too much unforced error. Also, I will say there's way too much unforced error in Amon and Christina point of view for us. They are super good in fast pace. Both of them are super good in fast pace, but kudos to the Brewers. They slow every pace down, so they couldn't do much about it.
yeah, exactly right. So Brewers sweep at 3-0. The Owl season is done. So that's the number 5 team out now.
Hmm.
So now,
Ouch.
so now we move on to the next round of the B side. So now we have the number 8 seed versus the number 4 seed, the Drive and Toronto United. So starting off with the women's, not women's, sorry,
Oh,
with mixed.
yep.
You
Hmm.
have Mike and Audrey, Max and Jada. Max and Jada pull off a tight 2021 win. This was a really good mixed match, both very, very back and forth. Shout out to Mike and Audrey for this match.
Yep.
But Max and Jada managed to pull out the win there. Then you have Alexis and Evan versus Matt and Jordy, another 21-20 win, but this time in favor of the Drive. And
Hmm.
same thing, stupidly back and forth. Evan and Alexis played very, very well in this match. So we're tied 1-1 going into the women's, and this next one, Jordy and Jada versus Audrey and
Oof.
Alexis, once again,
Yeah.
super tight. This is definitely in a credit to how well Audrey and Alexis played this weekend.
Hmm.
But Jada and Jordy did pull off the 21-20 win to go up 2-1, and then Matt and Max come in. Like not, I wouldn't call it super convincing, but it was a 21-17 win. And by the time you got about halfway through the match, it was pretty clear that Matt and Max were the ones in control of the match, and it was just a matter of time. Just because they started just to outwork Evan and Mike, pulling them side to side, going down the middle, doing really good roll shots, good speed ups, good shakes and bakes. So Toronto United wins 3-1. That's the end of the Drive season. Like the Drive did not have a good regular season. We're gonna say that
Oh,
flat out.
no, not
But
at all.
the addition of Mike, his chemistry with Evan, the emergence of Audrey, and Alexis playing locked in this weekend. Like they pushed it. They knocked off the number 2 seed, and went to lost 3-1 in like 3 tight games versus the number 4 seed. Like that's like you can end that on, yes, you're disappointed that you got knocked out, but that I would end that on a high note just for the progression of how the team played.
Yeah, big time because they have a massive shakeup. It was not easy to right away come back at that big shakeup, right? Especially the two main mans is leaving, and then now you have to put up the backup and another bringing Mike in that hasn't played CNPL before, and then still made it pretty far, to be honest with you. And obviously where they're not favorite to win, but at least they make themselves quite decent into the bracket.
Yeah, exactly. So then we have the I guess the or the semifinals of the B side, Toronto United versus the Brewers.
Hmm.
Toronto electing once
Yeah,
again not to put Mark Clemenson in. I think this is where that was a mistake.
yeah, me too.
Um, It was like, and that's like I said, not a shot at Kyle and Luca, but especially when you're playing players at the level of Matt and Max who've been playing on par the entire weekend. Like the Owls were up and down, so like maybe you think you can get away with it there.
Mhm.
But like I understand giving Mark a break for whatever reason you gave him a break for against the Owls there, but I would have subbed Mark back in here. Like there's a time to play what you would call the hot hand, but then there's also a time you have to go with what's been working all season,
Mhm.
right? And
Yeah.
it wasn't even close. Um,
Ouch.
women's match, Jada and Jordy 21-12 over Tara and Ava. Men's match, Max and Matt 21-14 over Kyle and Luca, and then Jada and Max 21-11 over Ava and Kyle.
Ah, yeah, yeah.
Um, the Toronto United was in full control the entire all three games. Brewer and also just looked like the Brewers ran out of gas.
Yeah,
To be honest, I think
definitely.
it's like they used up all that energy in those last two games. But yeah, so Toronto United moves on. The Brewers, the season has been such a strange one because like we were saying at the beginning, after the first couple of splits, they were in every match, just couldn't get over the hump, and then
Mhm.
they make that massive roster change, dropping both Amanda Rosati and Eugene, bringing in Luca and Tiffany, who didn't even end up playing this weekend. Um, and like yeah, Tara stepping up and taking the starting spot beside Ava, but it was just like if they would have started with this roster at the beginning of the season, I think they could have done a lot better because you would have had time to cultivate
Yeah, because they
that.
started Amanda. It was Amanda Tara most of the time, right? So
No, Amanda and Ava.
Ava, sorry.
Tara and
Well,
Ava were
a little bit of
rotating, but
both. Yeah.
I think Ava was getting more of the starts. So I think it was like if they played 8 matches, I think Ava would get 6,
Gotcha.
and then Tara would get 2, type of thing.
I see.
But but no, like if they would
Yeah.
have started with this lineup at the beginning of the season and gave it a full season to cultivate, I think it would have probably done better because you would have had time to build up that chemistry. You would have had time to see what worked and what didn't work, type of thing. So I'd say especially because they finished in the finals last year in comparison to this year, a little bit of a disappointing season for the Brewers, but there's like I said, some bright spots there. Like honestly, the way they had been playing during the season, I wasn't expecting them to get to the semifinals of the B side, right?
Hmm.
Taking out the teams that they took out. So that's kudos to them. Like we said, Toronto United moves on to the B side finals, and so that's going to be against the Northern Lights.
Yep.
Um, and and it was funny. They did kind of the same thing with the men's and women's. They kind of traded convincing wins. So Jada and Jordy handled Danny and Marie Christine 21-13, but then Joel and Lucas come in and handle Matt and Max 21-15.
Yep.
And then it comes down to the mixed matches, and these were both stupid close. Um, Max and Jada taking out Lucas and Danny 21-18, but like these two, that game was neck and neck until they got to about 18-18, and then
Hmm.
Max and Jada kind of went on a little bit of a point run there
Yep.
to finish it off, and then the
On this one also, I put a notes in there. Is like the light unfortunately missed a lot of drops. There's a
oh yes,
lot of that was insane amount of drops was into the net, and that cost them the kind of match because they're like kind of this steadiness like defensive team. Like as soon as you cannot make your drops, like if your drops end up to the net, automatic point for the opponent, right?
yeah. And then Joelle and Marie Christine versus Matt and Jordy. Halfway through this match, Joelle and Marie Christine, like because of what you were saying, the drops and stuff, they actually
Mm.
switched sides and put
Yep.
Marie Christine on the left and Joelle on the right,
It
and
kind
it
of somewhat
worked.
worked. Yeah, it
It worked for a bit.
somehow
They
worked.
caught up, and I think they were tied 20-20, and they were siding out each other. I think 4 or 5 times
Yeah,
in
exactly.
this
I know.
match. It for someone for someone who was broadcasting it. It was raw. It was because I'm like, hey, game point, side out, game point, side out, right? So,
Yeah, I know.
but this is a huge shout out to the Lights. Like starting the season the way they did for the first two splits, where like you could see the potential was there, they just couldn't get it all to click together, and then it all comes together at the Metro, and then they get all the way to one game short of the finals, basically finishing third in this championship weekend. Like the future, like, and not to do a light pun again, but the future does look bright for this team, especially depending on who they decide to keep going into next season and who they end up drafting in the draft, right? But the like super impressed with how they finished the season.
Yeah, I not like definitely they did very very well adjusting, having better chemistry after the Metro. It's just maybe a little too bad they only made that adjustment at Metro. They could have maybe made that adjustment just one prior at the West. That could have helped their kind of rating and their placement a little bit better. But I will say they actually that was a good season finish position for them.
Yeah, absolutely. Now on to the finals.
Oh yeah.
So now we obviously have told you guys right at the beginning here who won, but the big thing,
look at the cutter right there.
The big thing with this one was the lineup matching in the mixed, because the Lions got to pick and they switched it from the previous time when they played in the semis. So you start off right away. We have the women's match, Ann and Stevie versus Jada and Jordy. Very good back and forth. Ann and Stevie take it this time.
Yep.
Then you have the men's match, Ernesto and LC versus Matt and Max. And 21-20, Lions take it. Stupid tight match. That was probably one of the best men's matches of the weekend. There were so many good rallies, so many good hand battles, so much back and forth in that, Max.
That was so close, and I think same thing. I will say, and Ernesto was having problem finishing point again. But LC from the right started stepping in and almost playing for at least for a couple of points, a 60-40 game from the right. Yeah, exactly. Just change it up a little bit.
Yeah, and it changed up enough that then all of a sudden Ernesto was able to make his shots because it forced Matt and Max to play a little bit more honest. Like they couldn't just hyper focus on Ernesto, because it was like they knew what shots Ernesto was going to do, basically, like you said from the previous matchup, right? So LC took the initiative and stepped in and started taking more and more shots from the right, and then it forced them to go back. And then Ernesto was able to do a little bit more of Ernesto things, like you saw a lot more of his really good slice shots leading into a backhand finish, or leading into like a setup for LC to finish type of thing, right? So
exactly,
still an insanely close match, obviously 21-20, but so Lions are up 2-0. Now this is where the flip happens. So Lions went with LC and Stevie versus Max and Jada, instead of versus Matt and Jordy, which is what they did last time. Now, Max and Jada came in and steamrolled 21-11 with the win. Like, they just were, like, same thing, firing on all cylinders. LC and Stevie had trouble kind of catching their breath and catching up with it. So shout out to Max and Jada just executing and coming in.
It was very effective for them. And LC was having too much enforced error. He was like kind of a little flustered to himself, I guess, like too hard to himself.
Yeah, and he had a lot of forehand rolls that went long, where like if they weren't going to be a finishing point, they were at least going to initiate like a pop up or something, right?
Yeah, big time.
So then you get to Ernesto and Anne-Sophie versus Matt and Jordy, and this is where the big switch really took effect, because Ernesto and Anne-Sophie were able to execute insanely well. They get it 21-10 win. Both of stepping in and doing their own shake and bakes, especially on like the not the final point, but the point leading up to the final point.
And Sophie coming over.
And Sophie comes in from the right and just shake and bakes and gets the finish, right? Like, she was fired up this game. These two teams, there was a lot of smack talk. You could hear it between the two, especially between Jada and Anne-Sophie. You could see the smack talk there. And then on the final one, it's unfortunately it ends on a misserved return into the net by Jordy off of Anne-Sophie's serve, but the Lions win 3-1. back-to-back champions, first time in CNPL history, obviously because it's only the third season, but also being the first, and Ernesto and LC being the first players to win multiple championships. Because no matter who won this match, you also had Matt Kawamoto on the other side, who also would have been a two-time champion because Toronto United won the inaugural.
Yeah, definitely. Does Anne-Sophie won too then?
Yeah, Anne-Sophie was on the Lions last year.
So 3 people. You just mentioned.
That's what I said. And Ernesto, LC were the 3 on the Lions, so they're back. They're two-time, and then but Matt's the only one remaining from the inaugural season of Toronto United.
Toronto, yeah, big time. Sorry.
Yeah. So congrats to the Lions. Congrats to Toronto United for after an off season last year, getting all the way back to the finals. Obviously fell a little bit short, but that's nothing to be ashamed of. Like really great season by them. We had a couple of doubts with some of their picks, just because we didn't know some of the players, because coming from the U.S., of course, Jada just coming straight over from basically tennis. But man, did she like improve so much over the season and become a real force to reckon with. Shout out to all the players, all the teams. It was such a fun season to watch and cover. Like we said before, shout out to the CNPL for letting us have so much access that they gave us. To a couple of our sources who feed us information on the down low. Thank you to those people. So Vic, now we're going to get into our CNPL awards. So this, obviously, once again, I'm going to specify this. This is not affiliated. The CNPL did not agree with us. These are me and Vic's picks. So Vic, we're going to start with what we usually start with. We're going to start off with the splits. So the most outstanding player for each split. Now, we kind of said this when we did the recaps of the split, but it is good to come back to this. So the very first split, the central split, the player of the central split was Anne-Sophie Courteau. She went 10-2 at that split and just played out of her mind. This was kind of like the beginning of what was going to be an insanely good season for her. So shout out to her for that. We go to the East, and then you have Jessica Kawamoto from the Smash going 11-1, so one-upping Anne. Going 11-1, and Jessica's like from year 1 to year 3, she has just been a stalwart of a pro player, and she's getting better and better. And like we said, you could see this year she took extra effort into being a lot more like offensive, more so like in the initiating the offense. Like she's been such a good defensive and counterpuncher player over the last 2 seasons, but this year she really took a step up in like initiating the speed ups or initiating the tacks. So shout out to Jessica with that. For the Western split, you had Anna Dashenko. She went 8-0, so undefeated in that one. And that was, of course, the one where the Owls went on a tear. That was where you saw like the insanely good version of the Owls that we were talking about. And Anna was a huge part of that. And also her first season in the CNPL, we've made the joke that she should have been in the CNPL from the beginning, but she never applied. So hopefully, Anna, you had a really fun season, and we hope to see you back next year.
Definitely.
The Metro split, Lucas Wong of the Northern Lights going 9-1 in his record. Of course, this was the split where the Lights went on fire and just like steamrolled almost everybody. And Lucas was a huge part of that. We got to have Lucas on the podcast, so shout out to Lucas. Insanely good rookie season. Hope to see you back again next year as well. Now we'll go to. So we're going to preface, these are regular season awards. And actually this year, me and Vic kind of agreed on almost everything. We only have, 2?
Maybe 2. Yeah, that's 2.
Yeah, I think last year we disagreed on a few more than this, but this was pretty good. So Rookie of the Year. So Rookie of the Year, obviously, first season in the CNPL. We both went with Jada Buey of Toronto United. Like I said, we had... I almost looked at her the same way I looked at Anne-Sophie last year as this tennis player coming in. Obviously, clearly had power. Short game needed to be worked on a little bit after that first split. But just the exponential rate that she improved, and obviously we know about going down, winning those PPA challengers and singles and stuff like that. And then just the way she got better and better and better as the season went on. Congratulations, Jada, Rookie of the Year for the 2025 season. Most improved player We both had Anne-Sophie Courteau of the Lions. Like I said, she kind of did the Jada thing last year where came in as that tennis player, insanely improved by the end of the season, winning the championship. This year, I can honestly say if she's not on most people's lists for the number one female player in the CNPL, she's got to be in your like top 3 or 4.
Yeah,
Like
definitely. She was playing insanely well this year.
her improvement has been insane.
Mhm.
Like, and then of course, and like just even like when we were talking about the final point in the finals there, where she was shaking and baking off of her Ernesto drive.
Oh,
Like
exactly.
last year, I would like if you were talking about her last year, there's no way I would have expected her to do that. This year, I was like, no, yes, she is a dominant force.
She can do that for
in
sure.
this league, right? So shout out to Anne-Sophie, most improved player of the year. Steal of the draft. We both had a different pick on this one. Both of them, though, insanely good picks. I see the argument for Vic. So my pick was Antoinetta Toskova for the Pronghorns. Was drafted in the 5th round. Basically became the start, one of the starters right away for the Pronghorns, and was probably one of the most consistent Pronghorns throughout all the splits.
Yeah,
going into the playoffs. So shout out to Antoinette going from basically a backup player last year and then leaving halfway through the season to basically being a starter, being drafted late, and then making such a huge impact and helping the team finish 2nd overall.
Oh yeah, she played very well.
Yeah. Vic, your pick was Evan Holinsky from the Drive. Same thing, picked in round 6, was behind West and Jonas. Jonas ends up leaving, getting dropped by the team. Wes doesn't play that much in the last one and then doesn't come to the playoffs. Evan then stepped in, basically kind of took on that power role on the team. And then his chemistry with Mike obviously just turned them into a way more formidable men's team. And then his ability to play very well in the mixed as well just made him a very good force to be reckoned with there. So congratulations, Evan. Same thing. We hope to see both of you next year. And then one of my favorite awards is I call it the Fred VanVleet or the Out of Nowhere Award. So this was for a player who was undrafted or started the season as an alternate and became instrumental to the team's success. Both of us, we thought this was a no-brainer. Mikel Gamond of the Pronghorns.
Here's the one.
Literally, you can pinpoint the Pronghorns turnaround of their regular season with the picking up of Mikel.
Oh yeah,
just before the Western splits, they go pick him up. Him and Brad mesh so well. Then he plays so well with because he did take turns playing with Kim and Antoinetta. Plays so well in mix with them. They go on a tear the final 2 splits, move all the way up into 2nd place on the Pronghorns. And like I said before, using the dude reference, he really tied the room together. Yeah. It's probably the most. Those 2 splits was probably kind of the most relaxed. And when I say relaxed, I'm describing someone who is known for his stoicism, but the most relaxed I've seen Brad Chapman play in a long time with a partner, because he just knew he could trust Mikel to get those digs in, get those counter punches in, and then Brad was able to do Brad Chapman things.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So shout out to Mikel for that, and hopefully someone is smart enough next year to draft you right away.
Oh yeah, I was like, why someone left him? What the hell is going on?
There was a few people who didn't get drafted. Like we said before, there's enough players who didn't get drafted last year. You could make 2 more teams in this league, right? We just need owners to step up. Offensive player of the year, Vic, I'll let you announce this one. We both agreed on this one as well. This one was pretty obvious as well.
It's pretty obvious. Armand, definitely. He's the guy, the most electric guy, most athletic guy, most energetic power forward in the game right now. Like there's no one more like screaming, getting anything out there than him. He was, when he's on, he's like all over the place. There's no turning back. You cannot stop him. Like he almost like when he's on, he's like an unstoppable force. So that award that definitely goes to him. Like you do not want to play him when he's like on fire.
Yeah, absolutely. And then same thing, Vic, I'll let you take Defensive Player of the Year, which we both agreed on as well, because watching this person dig shots was just insanely fun to watch.
He was insane. The way he was digging, Maximilian Wow, like those ball that was on his feet, taking those half volley reset. Oh my God! How like some of them I was like, how did he get that? There's no way he's off balance. How he can get to those shots? That it was insane. And also, I think there is one shot of him on the PPA Challenger somewhere this year on Instagram. I don't know how he got one of the like the highlight reel of the game in that shot. It was Max. It was basically Max on there. So, but he was insane. So that's reason why Ernesto having so much trouble trying to play against Mac Kawamoto and Max, because both of them are digging shot out of nowhere, and like it frustrates you at some point. Like, I can't finish any point.
Exactly. Yeah. And then we have a new award this year, because this was the first year we were allowed to have the CNPL had international players. Now, we did vary on this one, but once again, both of these picks make total sense. Vic went with Max Wild again from Toronto United. And just as Vic described, and for the Defensive Player of the Year, Max's digs, his ability to get to balls was insane. I went with Stevie Petropoulos from the Lions. Being 13 years old and being able to step in and play so insanely solid beside Anne Sophie and beside LC in this league of adults is needless to say, insanely impressive. Like, we've had a couple of younger players kind of have a cup of tea in the CNPL, and no one has been as remarkable as Stevie as how well she played.
She's only 13 or 14.
I think she's 14 now. I think she said 14. Like, but she was 13 when she got drafted. So like,
yeah, exactly.
It's insanely good player. Now we're gonna do another one of my favorites is
maybe the future Annalie Water. We never know.
Yeah, exactly. Well, did you see
Annalie Water started that?
Did you see the pose that her and LC did with the cup? They did the Annalie Waters Ben Johns pose where LC bites the cup and she points.
I didn't see it.
Yeah, that was good. Then we have most underrated player. Now, the way I described this is this is an insanely good player who not necessarily falls under the radar, but when I say the team they're on, they're not the first or necessarily second person you think of, right? So we went with Luis Charles Amat from the Lions, because when you say the Lions, everyone thinks Ernesto or everyone thinks Anne Sophie, right? But I'm going to throw out a stat here for you. Luis Charles was tied with Ryan Torrenson for the best win rate percentage in the CNPL this season. Right. So like at like over 75%. So not only did he perform, but he performed at an insanely high rate that was only matched by like one other player. And that one other player, there was one other person on that team that almost had an identical win rate with Jessica Kawamoto. And the two of them were kind of tied in tandem. Right. Wow. But if you look at the rest of the Lions, Luis Charles is a good 5+% higher than everybody else on the Lions for win rate.
Wow.
Right. So it's just like, so, and like I said, when we say the Lions, the first thing we think of is Ernesto. The next one you think of, if you're thinking females, is Anne Sophie. Right. And then of course the big thing was Stevie being a 13-year-old coming in. Right. And that's not saying Luis Charles is a bad player. Obviously everyone, as soon as you say Luis Charles to someone, everyone says, oh wow, what an insanely good player. Right. But I find he gets hidden behind that wall of lights and stuff that go to Ernesto and Anne Sophie, right? So that's our pick for the most underrated player.
Yeah.
Now to the two big awards. So MVP, and I'm agreeing with Vic on this one. We went with Ernesto.
Yeah.
Not only because of what he brings to the court, but what he brings to that team as the leader, as the player coach. Ernesto for those of you who don't know as fans, Ernesto does so much extra behind the scenes for the Lions as well. So when you say most valuable player to their team, the Lions would literally not function without Ernesto, let alone the fact that
he's the core.
Yeah, let alone the fact that he is the best player in Canada right now. Not only did he sweep the Nationals, he is now a back-to-back champion in the CNPL. He goes down to the NAPP or not NAP, APP stuff and performs insanely well. Plays across the globe, putting on clinics and stuff. The Lions would not be where they are without Ernesto.
Oh, big time.
And like as much as we want to say that about some other like very like good players who also have their name in the hat for this, you take that player off the team can still be fairly successful. The Lions would literally fall apart without Ernesto.
Definitely.
So that's not only his play on the court, which goes without saying how good Ernesto is and how well he plays, especially like in the finals, how well he played. That is why we have Ernesto as the MVP. And then for playoff MVP, so best performer in the playoffs, Vic, did you make a final pick? You have two names listed down.
Yeah, it's tough, right? Because
they were both so good.
Yeah, exactly. I can. It's just like they're pretty close to each other. It's
basically tell you what, I'll go with mine, and then you go with the one that's not the same as mine. Okay, and we'll just say the both of them. We'll do that. So I picked Ernesto. Vic had Ernesto or Anne-Sophie, so we're gonna say Vic has Anne-Sophie because literally the two of them were on fire. They're this entire playoff weekend, basically. And like especially watching the very last match there.
Oh,
it was like watching a female version of Ernesto playing beside Ernesto, or a female version of Anne-Sophie playing beside Anne-Sophie in that final match where they were feeding off each other.
Ooh.
Both of them took a turn of stepping in and taking over the court.
Mm-hmm.
And they did that throughout the playoffs. So, and like we said, like the MVP is going to be on the winning team, and they literally had two people who were stupid worthy caliber of being the MVP this year. So Ernesto and Anne-Sophie, you guys are the playoff MVPs. Those are our picks, guys. If you have different picks of your own, make sure you get in the comments. This was a tough year to pick some of these. Like some of them were really easy. Other than them, I was sitting there juggling like 4 or 5 names because the games this year were so good.
Yeah, the level is definitely
the level is so high now.
Exactly, it went to another level. It's like definitely not like season 1 or season 2. Like this is the next level.
Yeah, and this was literally the season where when you looked at especially like the teams, literally anyone could beat anyone if they were on.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Like,
and
we did our pre-predictions, and like we weren't too bad, but there were some teams who turned it on at the last minute, who threw off our ratings. There's some teams that dropped at the last minute that threw off our predictions, right? But this was an insanely good year, an insanely fun year. I do know for sure that free agency is in January for next season for teams to sign players. The Pronghorns, I think. The rumor is that they should have an owner finally come next season.
Nice.
Whether they get relocated or not, we're not sure. We'll see because like I said, this is more so rumor mill coming right now.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully that'll then have all 8 teams have an owner. If we could get 2 more owners and 2 more teams to make it a 10-team league now, that would be awesome.
That would be great.
And we'll also see what teams are allowed to, how many players teams are allowed to re-sign if they're going to change that. Because like it used to be before you could re-sign, like after the first year you could re-sign 4. This year the most that was re-signed was 3, like the Lions did. Are they going to limit it to 3? Are they going to limit it to 2? Are they going to limit it to 1? Like we don't know yet. We'll wait and see what the CNPL announces.
Mm-hmm.
But we're looking forward to that. The next podcast, we're going to be covering the World Cup because October 9th, which will be a few days after this episode comes out, they're doing the draws they're doing the ball thing for the actual draw for the pool play for the World Cup. So we're going to see where Canada lines up.
Nice.
And also we have the regionals of the MILP coming up in Canada, so we'll be able to look at that stuff as well. Anything you want to add to cap off the CNPL season, Vic?
Not much. It has been a very enjoyable season. It was great. We've been following very closely to this season. Obviously, my first pick was right, having the Lions on top. I need to brag. Sorry, I need to brag. I already make that call right away. I have faith in Ernesto, so it kind of it worked out, and I have faith in him in the playoff, and it turns out it worked out.
And you're also insanely biased, so I think even if they lose all their players, you'd still probably pick the Lions.
I'm quite biased, so obviously
I gotta be the one who's more reserved now, Vic.
I don't even hide it. You see that? I don't even hide it.
Perfect. All right, so we're gonna leave you guys there. We will see you guys. I would say next week, so we can go over what the matchups look like for Canada for pool play for the World Cup. We'll also start ramping up for the MILP regionals, which are going to be the October 24th, 25th weekend, both East and West.
Nice.
And we'll see which teams come through with that and who gets to go to the U.S. Nationals December. I will say it now. We are going to have our own MILP next year in February. We can't do what you would call an official announcement because we got to wait for the Nationals to be over in December. But for those of you who want to play a tournament, leave the first weekend of February open.
Yeah, it's going to be a very good, interesting format too. It's not going to be your regular format.
Yeah, and we'll do a full announcement video and all that stuff. Probably, I think the Nationals end on like December 7th or something like that. So probably like December 8th or 9th, we'll have a full announcement. We got a couple new sponsors coming in, some returning sponsors, which is awesome. And we're still working on some more, so we have a bunch more swag and stuff for all of the players and things like that. So we're really looking forward to it. Until then, we'll see you guys next week, and make sure you hit like, make sure you hit subscribe, tell all your friends. We're over 100 now on YouTube, Vic. So let's keep building that up. And I just passed 700 on Instagram. So
nice.
We're slowly building that ladder up.
We're slowly getting there. Obviously, I think this month's still pretty busy for me, especially after the baby. So, but I'll try to do something at the end of the month. Another paddle at the hub for some new paddle that has been released. So, and Dewey has been. I already gave it to Dewey, so Dewey has been already hitting those paddles, so he will be able to give me more info. For me, it's actually easier. Usually I know right away how that paddle hits, and I can already I have the equipment to kind of fine tune it. But for Dewey, sometimes takes a little bit more time, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So don't miss out. Thank you.